Welcome to the Agility in Real Life podcast, Take 5 in Real Life. Now your hosts, Mike Studeman, Jeff Lee, and Pat Campbell.
Hello, and welcome back to the Take 5 IRL podcast. I'm Jeff Lee, a partner at Agility IRL, and with me again is Kelly Weyrauch from Agile Quality Systems. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning. Hello again, Jeff and everyone.
All right, so we've been talking with Kelly recently, and if you haven't heard the last few episodes on Agile and medical device development, check out the last few podcasts. We've been having a series here. And today, Kelly, we've talked about Agile and regulatory. We've talked about specifics of medical device. We've talked about changes to TIR 45 that you've made recently in our recent episodes. Today, we want to talk about why people outside of the product development teams should care, right? Specifically, the quality, the regulatory people in organizations, and why Agile is something that they should care about and want, or if it is. What are your thoughts? Should they care?
Of course, because the Agile model addresses building in quality as you go. The whole reason for the quality management system, the reason for the quality system regulations are to ensure that the products that we develop are of high quality. They are safe and effective. And the Agile model emphasizes building in quality as you go. So the people who care about quality, the people who are going to have to defend it to the regulators, submit a product, should be aware and part of the process of ensuring that quality is part of what we do all the time in the Agile model.
That sounds like a very succinct summary. So when I've been working with clients that it's almost always the product development groups that bring us in to help them with their processes and the way that they work, or moving to Agile, getting better at Agile, whatever that is. We often find that they want to engage their quality and regulatory people, and sometimes we get some pushback from quality and regulatory concerns about that's going to take too much of our time. How would you react to that reservation?
Yeah, that starting with what you highlighted, how it comes in, that it often comes in because the development organization is looking for improvement in something, predictability, productivity, time to market, often not looking at Agile as a way to improve quality because they've often been doing well in developing high quality products. And so the concern from quality is you're trying to get benefits in these other areas, but we don't want to sacrifice our good quality system processes. We don't want to sacrifice quality of our products by trying to improve efficiency, productivity. And how to position this is that it doesn't have to be a trade-off of one for the other. While organizations might not be looking for an improvement in quality by bringing Agile methods in, Agile methods actually can improve quality as well as provide benefits in those other areas. So part of it is convincing the rest of the world that this is good for all of us from different perspectives.
Yeah, well, so why does Agile improve quality?
The main concept is that quality is embedded in everything you do. I was originally a skeptic of Agile concepts way back in the late 90s and early 2000s. And one of the things that helped win me over was the statement from one of the leaders saying, the Agile movement emphasizes discipline coming from a different perspective, as opposed to the discipline of an enforced process with some oversight insisting that we do things in a high quality way. Agile says quality comes from the development team doing work all the time, that quality is embedded into everything we do. It's not just a summary reporting thing at the end to demonstrate compliance. We are satisfying the quality system and doing good quality work all the time in the Agile model, and that brings benefit.
Yeah, what I've noticed over the years and getting companies and obviously myself getting better at how to marry quality in Agile processes and regulated worlds. Back in the day, I think 2011 was the first time I was in a regulated environment using Agile. And I was totally focused on what our team was doing. I was in the Scrum Master role, knowing that at the end of our development, there's going to be some mysterious thing that happened to make sure it was ready to go to regulators and be submitted. And over the years, what's changed, and the client we worked with last year, is we've really brought a lot of that mystery into the light. And instead of waiting to the end, we're doing it every sprint, right? So you have your developers, your testers, your business analysts, like everybody is aware of the quality system and they know which parts are getting done every single sprint. And so it's bringing a totally different focus to the team level than they had previously.
And this is related to the shift to an incremental model versus a big linear model. We tend to think of quality in phases. Many medical device organizations have phases that are focused on some quality element, such as an initial phase where we're focused on the design inputs. And then there's a development phase when we're focused on creating the design outputs. Then we have a verification phase where we're focused on doing the verification activities. Then we have a validation phase where we're validating the product. The Agile model says do that stuff all the time incrementally, and the TIR45 gives guidance of how to address all those elements incrementally, little pieces at a time.
All right, so I want to go back to the perspective of a quality or regulatory person, right? So that's great, right? We're building quality in, we're going to get our time to market reduced because we're not having this really, really long cycle at the end where we have to do a bunch of documentation and, redo everything. But what if I don't feel like I have the time to spend with the team every single sprint? It feels like a big burden.
Yeah, so this is the challenge with having a specialty role devoted to quality. The quality system expert, as with any expert in Agile model, what do you do when you need more of that expert? Well, first is that expert needs to be engaged with lots of people, lots of teams. Well, how do you spread that around? And so it's not only that one expert participating with the teams, it's helping them coach the teams to bring some of that expertise in. That the expertise shouldn't live solely within the quality expert. The quality expert can be the specialist, the guide, the teacher, can do some activities, but part of their responsibility is to ensure the teams doing the work understand the principles of quality and apply them as they go. So it's not that they have to be doing the work all the time. They're guiding the teams on doing that good work all the time.
Yeah, so they're sharing that work. They're also engaged with the teams throughout. One of the big benefits that I see is, frustration in working the old way for those people as they get to the end of a project, a release, whatever it is, and all of a sudden they become the blocker and they know nothing about this thing, right? So they're reading documentation, they're talking to people, they're trying to get educated on what this thing is, that all of a sudden the company is depending on me as the expert to say, yeah, this thing is ready to submit. That's a lot of pressure on something you know nothing about. Right. And so building that knowledge in throughout reduces a lot of that and lets them, know what's happening along the way, help guide that.
Yeah, excellent observation there. And it's related to producing a big document. If you produce this giant document and ask people to review this whole document, that's a monumental task. So the Agile model says, let's review and approve elements of that document as we go. So the quality system specialist, the regulatory specialist, is either directly participating in the changes little bits at a time, or they know who is and they know the controls that are being applied. So when they do that final aggregate document approval, they're not reading the document for the first time to approve all the content. They're saying, I'm comfortable with how that content got built because I know how it was done. I know who participated. I participated when I needed to. I know the people who did that I can count on. So my final approval is simply saying that aggregate came together right and we're comfortable with how we did it. It isn't the big whopping approval with the nasty feedback loop that can happen as a result.
Right. All right. So I'm convinced as as a quality person that I can go to a quality person and give them a compelling argument for why it's better for them to move to this Agile model and be involved throughout. Are there any other tips that you would give to people watching this podcast who are working with quality regulatory who need to give a little bit more persuasion to those groups?
So the other podcasts in this series, we're talking about AIME TIR45. So if you haven't listened to those podcasts, certainly check those out. But TIR45 is a guidance from the AIME organization that includes industry participation and the US FDA. And the FDA people on the TIR committee that helped write the document saw the benefits of Agile. Regulatory people can see that there's benefits to quality that come from Agile methods. I'll highlight just a couple of them that the FDA was the most impacted by on the committee. First was the focus on continuous validation. The design control regulation talks about doing validation at the end on final products. And the FDA and other regulators recognize there's a problem with that. If you do validation only at the end, if you find problems, two bad things can happen. First is because you're at the end, you want to ship a product, you want to provide this benefit of this new device, this new product, you're tempted to ship the product without addressing this this change, saying, well, it's good enough to release now, maybe we'll fix it later, we'll add something later. Or you decide you do fix it, and that change impacts something else of that device that you've been creating and causes a nasty rework problem by introducing a new defect in the change. Regulators see this problem. So they liked Agile's approach to continuous validation, that you get validation feedback as you go, so you can better improve the product as you go and not have that undesirable problem when you find a problem at the end. Related to that was FDA's benefit of seeing the continuous verification, the focus on doing verification activities all the time. We're verifying at the tiny little bit level stories at a time. We're doing incremental verification. We're doing final verification activities before we ship. They liked that verification was done continuously. And finally, they liked that design controls were applied everywhere. Design controls are not a process. They're the controls that must exist in your process. And the FDA liked seeing that design controls are applied all the time in the Agile model, not just in distinct phases in big batches, but that Agile encourages putting those controls in all the time. They thought this was a huge benefit. So I think for medical device organizations that have good interactions with their regulators, they can show that Agile actually brings benefits to quality that regulators care about.
Excellent. Well, it sounds compelling to me, and obviously, you and I both believe in this, right? Having seen it work in a variety of different companies over the course of time. So thanks for joining us again, Kelly, and providing your expertise on this topic. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Take5IRL podcast. If you like it, please go ahead and share it with someone, as well as like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Also, leave us a comment or a suggestion for a future episode. Again, thanks for listening, and we look forward to you joining us next time on the Take5IRL podcast.